What are the things that the tweens and teens that you talk to wish their parents knew or wish their parents did differently?
That's a big question. I don't know. Um, I think probably sometimes asking them questions. So I know I work with a lot of kids, so I also work with a lot of parents too. And a lot of parents are really reluctant to ask those like real questions, like this sense, like if I ask the question, then it's going to be real. And that can be anything from like, are you thinking about hurting yourself, to have you smoked pot, to are you gay, have you had sex yet, like all those questions, and the parents like want to know but they kind of don't want to know the answer. um, I think kids would rather the parents just rip the band-aid off and ask, especially if there's something that they're trying to communicate, like I like to kiss other boys, or I am sad and I am like lonely and I am thinking about hurting myself. Like it's better if the parents just ask the question and then they can talk about it. Sometimes kids have the sense that I get from them that they're sort of like leaving little breadcrumbs or hints, and they're and trying to get parents to ask them because they don't want to bring it up themselves. They want the parents to come to them. In that sense, they want the parents to steer the ship and have the talk with them. So yeah, just if you got a question on the tip of your tongue, just ask it. I think that's what the kids would say most of the
Yeah.
time.
And I like that because it gives a message to the kids. If we're asking questions and if we're genuinely curious, it gives a message to the kids. It's like, this is stuff that we can talk about as our family. Uh, and this is just normal. And that it opens up the door for then future conversations for the kids to come back and say, oh, okay, so I did have a sexual experience, or where could I get birth control, or whatever, like all these other
Right. Yeah.
things that come along with these new navigating these new waters. So I do like kind of setting the stage like that.
And it's hard. I mean, because I'm guessing most of the people listening like have teenagers, and so there's like that push me pull you tension that kids like to have, where they like want to dye their hair green, but then they don't want people to look at them. You know what I mean? Like that kind of stuff. And so they're contractually obligated to like roll their eyes and go, "Oh my God, that's so awkward. Why are you asking me that?" But and they want you to ask them anyway, right? It's sweet in a weird way. Even with kids who have my books, like I get messages from them, or they tell me like they take my book and then they like mark the page that's about birth control or porn or whatever, and they like kind of leave it out for the parents to see. So they'll be like, oh, they marked the page about birth control, I guess I need to go talk to them. It's sort of like a clue, like come and talk to me about birth control. So yeah, it's hard.
I love that as a
And
strategy.
it's interesting because we talk, especially with younger kids, we talk about like kind of being a parent detective. It's everything that you ask isn't immediately obvious, especially like at 3 year olds. They're not going to be able to tell you like what's really going on. You kind of have to be that detective. And it's like that again. It's just that the kids look so
Yeah.
much more capable and they can use much bigger words and they can string sentences together, right? And so I think that they're more capable of telling me what's going on, but it's still the same thing of like hearing the unsaid, being that parent detective, even when they're
Yes.
like, Dad, like not taking that as like what they really mean, like you just said, but like what's underneath it is they really do want those questions. They really do want to talk about it. And I find that tough because they seem so capable, because they're talking words that I understand and they look more like me. And so it's harder for me to
Yeah.
really believe like what they're saying is really what they mean. And that's often at their age, especially not
Or
necessarily the case.
yeah, they can fit in your shoes, or they're taller than you, or they can drive a car, but they still like need help with some of these conversations. When they're in diapers and they cry, and you're like, well, that can mean this or this or this. And now it's like, well, they're eye rolling, or they haven't said any words in 8 hours. Like that could be this or this or this. You have to sort of translate into a different language. You need a Google translator app for that.
Like that Google Teen Translate. Okay.
Yeah.
So what advice do you have for parents that maybe their teen or tween comes out and like drops the bombshell, and whatever it's about, sexual orientation or curiosity, even just like the sex talk, which we teach and you probably teach too, that's not like a talk, but it's about a conversation over many years. But they, the kid says a big question and the parent is like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to tackle that, and fears and judgments, and maybe some like programming from religion comes in all at once, flooding into this parent's brain. What do they do in those moments?
Specifically about like sex or gender and that kind
Sure,
of stuff
yes.
happens. I think being able to like hold that poker face that we often have as parents, some of us have it more sort of defined and strong than others, but just holding on to the poker face and just trying to take a breath and say congratulations or be proud of them, be excited for them. Again, like we're talking about a deep, important process of thinking about themselves and exploring who they are and being brave that most people like haven't done in previous generations until they were in their 20s or 30s or sometimes 40s, right? In fact, there's a lot of people kind of coming out of closets now in their 50s because the kids are doing such a good job role modeling, right? And so to have a kid in your family, in your life that you helped contribute to their development, who's that brave and has that much insight and feels that connected to you that they can talk to you, like take a moment and give yourself a high five and give them a high five and be excited for a second, right? And before you get overwhelmed. It is super hard to do, but really, I mean, that's just the key, you know?